Welcome to Spunky Spirit with Carrie Muggs, where we talk about spiritual empowerment, growth, and connection. Here's your host, spiritual life coach, author, and intuitive advisor, Carrie Muggs.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this podcast on how do you hear spirit. So spirit means your guides, your angels, and also your past loved ones. So everybody hears them differently. And so I kind of want to explain that because a lot of people think, when they come to readings and stuff, that they actually want to see their loved one or see, they want it to be obvious. And sometimes you just have to figure out how you can hear them because everybody is different. So there's these things I like to call the clairs. All of us have them. It's just our spiritual way of seeing, hearing. It's like our eyes and our nose and our mouth on our body. This is just our spirit's way of hearing spirit or past loved ones. And we all do it differently. So each one of us can use each of the clairs, but we all have ones that stand out more than others. So when I was younger, I could see things. I could see spirits. I could see them and actually visualize them in front of me. They would be full-bodied in front of me. And so everybody kind of thinks that this is how mediumship works, when in reality, we can all see or hear spirits. It just depends on how your spiritual clair works. So there's 4 different clairs. There's clairvoyance, which is the seeing. There's clairaudient, which is hearing. Now, this is going to be music people that like to hear things. There's also clairsentience, which is people who feel things. And there's also claircognizance, which is people who know things. So just because you don't actually see a spirit or see your past loved ones in front of you doesn't mean you don't have the same gift. It just means you haven't tapped into how you can hear spirit or your past loved ones talking to you. So I'm going to explain a little bit. We've talked about frequency before, so I kind of want to explain. Before you're 5 or 7, spirit has a certain frequency. So when I do readings, I have to get on the same frequency as them. So theirs is a little higher, mine's a little lower. We kind of get to the same frequency. I've talked about that before. When you're little, though, your frequency, and I think I've talked about this before too, your frequency is pretty high. So spirits don't have to lower their frequency for you to see them. So if you were little and you saw spirits and then it kind of went away, that's probably why. Once you hit 7 or 8, your frequency starts to lower a little bit and you don't see them as much. Or if you do, you see them super fast. So just know, for the ones who are visual, if you see spirits very suddenly and they can't last very long, it's because they can't hold that frequency for very long. They can't lower it. It kind of is tiring for them to hold that frequency. So I'm going to talk to you about the clairs, and you can decide which clair you are, and then kind of, start exercising that clair so you can hear better. You can hear spirit better. Now, obviously, I've had to work on all 4 clairs for my whole, because of what I do as a medium now. But when I was younger, clairvoyance and clairsentience were my 2 big ones. But because of what I do now, I've had to practice my other 2 clairs, so I can now, when I do readings, spirits can talk to me, because you have to remember, when they go to the other side, they still can use their spiritual. If they were clairaudient, then they're going to kind of come through a hearing for me. I hope that makes sense. So I kind of have to make sure all of my clairs are kind of balanced, even though I do have some dominant clairvoyance and dominant claircognizance. I still have to use the other ones. So today I'm going to kind of explain to you and try and figure out which clair you have and how you can work to get to understand that clair, and then you can kind of start getting on the other ones. So the first one is clairvoyance, obviously. This is vision. This is seeing. This is seeing with your third eye. This is being able to see spirits. This is just being able to see things. So you could see things like dimes and feathers. This is spirits physically coming in and showing you different signs. Sometimes we miss them. Sometimes we see a dime on the ground and we don't think that that's them. Sometimes we see certain things happening. Like, this is a very physical type of thing when spirit comes through with your clairvoyance. You kind of see things. Sometimes these things run as pictures, like a movie screen in your head, or you can actually see. One of my daughters is very clairvoyant. She has dreams because of the visions. She sees, things in her dreams. One time my aunt had come to the house, and her husband had recently passed away, and my daughter actually came up to me and said, "Who's that man with her?" And we knew exactly who that was. So this is clairvoyance. So kind of to know how you're clairvoyant is if you just see things. You see moving pictures in your head. It's when people tell you to shut your eyes and imagine this, you can actually picture it. You've probably actually seen spirits, you ask for guidance and you see the number 222, or you see things that guide you. So that's clairvoyance, and this is what I had when I was little. Also, the next one would be clairaudient. And this is hearing. So this is hearing spirit. A lot of people can hear spirit with their spiritual ears. A lot of people who are clairaudient love music. They tend to have an ear for different sounds of music, or different kind of sounds. This is where you can hear things, and the time that you hear things when you're clairaudient is in that time when I call it Peter Pan sleeping. That time when Peter Pan says, "I'll be there when you're not quite awake, but not quite asleep." That's where the easiest time for spirit is to talk to you. But clairaudient can also be, you ask for guidance, you go to the grocery store, and you overhear a conversation. Not that you're eavesdropping, but the answer's in that conversation. Like, you could say, okay, you're going on a date, or you're making dinner for somebody, and you're like, should I make chicken? And then you go to the store to buy the chicken, and in the conversation in the next row or the next aisle is how they're talking about how their spouse was allergic to chicken, or it's just something simple like that. And so those are the clairaudient people. You can just kind of hear things. A lot of times you'll be like, "Shh, can you hear that?" And you'll be able to hear different sounds. That's kind of clairaudience. And spirits can come through making noises or clanking things, just kind of things like that. So just kind of watch that. That's that voice that you hear, but you actually kind of hear it, or sometimes you don't actually have to hear it. It's just that voice that you hear that tells you, you need to do this or you need to do that. So those are my clairaudient people. The next one is clairsentience. These ones feel. These are my empaths. These are the people who just can feel everything and anything. This is when you're just sitting down and you can feel a presence in the room. You get goosebumps. The back of your neck hairs stand up. You can just feel something's not right. You can feel when you're next to a person and you just feel that something isn't going, something's not going correctly, or you just have that feeling. Mothers, this is intuition. Mothers have this a lot. So do fathers with, intuition with their children. So this is just the feeling one. This one's hard to explain. This one's just, you feel, you can walk into a room and you can feel the energy because everything is energy. You just feel things. So if there's a spirit next to you, you can feel them. This can kind of come through too, as sometimes when a spirit shows me or tells me that they had a hard time, like how they died or how they passed on. Like, sometimes they'll make me feel my heart hurt for like a heart attack, or they'll make me feel pain in my knees to show me that they had pain. So just kind of watch that too. If you have, somebody, a past loved one who's coming through, and all of a sudden you're like, I have a headache, or you have this or that. Just kind of check where that's coming from. So those are my feelers. And these are the hardest ones too, because when you actually do feel spirit, or you do feel someone, you question yourself. Like, was that really true? Was that really it? So here's what I want you to do. When you do that, I want you to be like, okay, I think that this is who this is, and would you show me a 222 by the end of the day? Or to make sure that, give them a little bit more time than the end of the day, give them about 3 days, but to make sure that that's what you're feeling so you can validate that. That always helps out a lot too. So those are my feelers. Those are the ones that, you question it a lot, but don't, because it's not a coincidence, and it really does happen. It's just hard for you to kind of control that. The one thing about my feelers too, is when somebody recently passes away and they try and reach you, you're so consumed with grief and feeling the grief that it's hard for you to feel the person that passed on with you, because your grief is you're so blinded and so consumed with it. And this isn't a bad thing. Just give yourself some grace and know that there's going to be some time that you're going to be able to feel this past loved one eventually. It's just right now the grief consumes you, and that's all you can feel. So don't think that the loved one isn't with you. Don't think that they're not, because you get frustrated because you're like, well, my sister had a dream. Well, she's clairvoyant. So that's how they came to see her. So your clairsentience, you feel, and they can't get through because you're feeling the grief. So just know that that's kind of what's going on. Claircognizance. Now, these are my psychics. These are people that just know. They just know things. You could be talking to somebody and you just know they're lying to you. You could, somebody could be having a conversation and they're like, I'm going to apply for this job, and you just know they're going to get it. These are my people that just know what's going on and know what's going to happen. So a lot of times I like to play the aura game with this. So a lot of people say, I can see auras. Well, they're clairvoyant. And some people can, actually hear the vibration when they're next to you. They can hear a frequency around you to kind of test your aura. And the clairsentients can feel your aura. So just because you can't see that color doesn't mean you're not feeling or hearing the aura. And then there's just knowing what color their aura is, So the thing that I want you to do is I want you to practice these things. I want you to practice your clair, whichever clair you are. So the best way to know what clair you are is, imagine you went, when you go to a movie. So when you're watching the movie or you leave the movie, what do you remember most about the movie? Do you remember the visuals? Do you remember the visual effects, the what you see, like very visual stuff? Do you remember the soundtrack? Do you remember the music? Do you remember the things that they said, like the things that were said in the movie to like tap on a lesson? Or did you remember how it made you feel? If that makes sense? Like you left and you're like, oh my gosh, I just feel like this is the most amazing, you have that feeling of having it be awesome, or you have that feeling of being let down, like you feel it and you actually feel all the emotions that the character's going through. The claircognizance, like, do you know what's going to happen? Do you go through the movie and be like, oh my gosh, this is totally what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. So that's kind of how you base, like, which one's your dominant? Which one do you do the most? Obviously, a lot of us do all of them, but there's got to be one that you like or feel the most. Sometimes there's two, and that's okay. Just kind of practice the ones that are more dominant with you, and then you can start practicing on the other ones. So for my clairvoyance, my people who can see, this is how I want you to practice yours. I want you to get a card deck. I want you to pull 3 of the cards out. I want you to look at the cards, and then I want you to turn them over and mix them around. And then I want you to, before you turn them over, guess which one it is. Keep practicing this. I do this I'm going to start doing this on a weekly thing on my Instagram too. This is how my clairvoyance practice. Keep practicing and keep practicing. Also too, my clairaudience, I want you, and how you practice in hearing is I want you to, put a playlist on. Put your playlist of when you're working out playlist or some type of playlist. I want you to guess what song's next. I want you to kind of like guess what song you're going to hear next, what song's coming on next. That would be good. That's good practice for my clairaudient people out there. My clairsentient people, how you practice is when the phone rings, I want you to practice feeling who that person is. This is also a good one for claircognizance people. I want you to, for you, you're just going to know. You're just going to know who it is. But for my clairsentient people, the people who feel, I want you to be able to try and feel who you think it's going to be. Kind of like take a deep breath and feel it. And you could practice the card one with any of these. You could practice the phone call with any of these, or the texting when you hear that ding. Take a deep breath in and just either, my clairvoyance, you'll see an image of their face. My clairaudient, you'll hear their voice. My clairsentience, you'll feel their personality or feel them. And my claircognizance, you'll just know. So, and you can do this with anything, like the next song, the next caller, which cards you're going to pull. Like if you are clairvoyant, that's going to be easy because you're going to imagine which card you're going to see. If you're clairaudient, I don't really know how you're going to hear, but you could hear that voice in your head say, Two of Hearts or something like that. You could actually hear it. But that's a little bit harder because that you get mixed up with the knowing, the clair, because you're thinking, okay, am I really hearing this or do I just know? So just give yourself some leeway on that. But that is how you talk to spirit or hear spirit or can kind of tap into those who have passed over. So a lot of people just think, they're just going to show up and be in front of you, and that's not how it always works. Just because you can't actually see these spirits doesn't mean you don't have the gift to. We all have this gift. We all can tap into our intuitiveness, and this is how spirit talks to us. This is how the Holy Ghost or our ancestors talk to us. And you have to remember too, they're talking to you through their clairs. So sometimes they'll try, and that's why when recently passed spirits pass over, this is why sometimes mediums like you to wait a few months before you have a reading, because one, you're so consumed with the grief that it will lower your frequency, and it's a little bit harder to connect. And two, if they're just newly passed over, they're trying to learn how to communicate too. They're trying to learn the frequency. They're trying to learn how to do this. And so, because they're still very much a part of your life and they're still very much the same personality. So just give them some time, which is really hard because I know you really feel like they're gone and you really want to feel their presence. And for my feelers out there, that's a little hard. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully this lets you know, how you can hear spirit, how you can hear your past loved ones, and you can practice these and practice them. Practicing is a good thing. You can't, it's like golf. I tell people all the time, everybody has this gift, everybody has intuition, everybody can do this, but you've got to practice it to be better. Just like sometimes, like Tiger Woods, he born to play golf. He loved golf, but he also practiced a lot and to get where he is now. I've had to practice a lot on all four clairs. I've had to do readings for a really long time to finally get it down. So just make sure you practice. And a lot of times you can have, a friend come over. This is hard because if you know a lot about your friend, then it's hard to pick things up and but try and think of different things and see what they're thinking or feel them or, feel how their energy is and kind of tap into that. And always make sure you have permission to do that. Don't tap into people without their permission or without them knowing, because that's kind of an invasion of their privacy. So, okay, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, let me know. Also, if you would like to have different podcasts on different things. Like, let me know. DM me on Carrie Muggs on my Instagram account or Spunky Spirit on my Facebook account, and let me know what kind of things you want to know about. Because honestly, the hardest thing is to me, I do this all the time. I do it daily. I do 3 or 4 readings a day. So to me, this is like, that math teacher who gets up there and skips a couple steps because they know it by heart. So I forget what people who are just learning or that want to tune into their awakening, I forget what they want to learn or what they want to know. So DM me on my Instagram account or my Spunky Spirit. Tell me the things that you want to learn, and I will completely talk about them for you. Also, too, I do Carrie Connects every Monday on Instagram or Facebook on Spunky Spirit. I pull a card to kind of set the intention for the week, and so you can tune into that. And I think that's kind of all I've got going on right now. I am creating a course for online. I did a class in January that was people came to, and that was awesome. So I had a lot of people say, can you have this course online? So I'm in the process of making that. So kind of watch for that in February or March. I'm hoping for February, but I have a grandbaby due in February that I'm kind of excited about. So I know there'll be a whole week that I won't be working. So awesome, guys. I love you so much. You guys help me so much, and I couldn't do this without you. And just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and I will see you next time.